No, I'm not dead. No, I'm not like gone forever or something. I'm still here. I've just been playing a long series of Flash games and all that, and it's been a nightmare to make a video on and comprehend that whole story. I know it's been a while, and so that's why I'm kind of here to just talk about something interesting and fill the dead space, I guess. A chatbot, you could say, to be specific. Now, in 2025, when you hear chatbot, you're probably thinking of something like Character AI or ChatGPT and things like that. AI and chatbots are used for a variety of things, mostly erotic roleplay, but also customer support and day-to-day assistance. However, there is one chatbot that has been elusive and shrouded in mystery: CAIMEO. The mystery behind CAIMEO is an urban legend that's honestly pretty old and mostly forgotten. However, it's one that I find deeply interesting as people have argued about its existence. So, let's talk about CAIMEO. Is CAIMEO real? Can I get CAIMEO? Will CAIMEO go out for a nice dinner with me? All of this and more in this video, and I hope you guys enjoy this one. Alright, let's set the scene here. It's 2016. At this point in time, no AI has really gotten that far, like, technologically. I mean, they're still very impressive, don't get me wrong, but they're not really to the level that kind of we have them at today. I mean, AI in general isn't centralized around chatbots, more just assistants, and the idea of AI sentience isn't that concerning, I guess. It's not like ethically problematic as it is now. I mean, the idea of AI sentience is still something that, I mean, has existed. I mean, you have like Terminator and stuff like that, but it's not really, again, problematic. The most advanced AIs of this period are things like Alexa, Siri's, and that like one Google assistant. Those aren't even really AIs, I'm gonna be honest with you. They're more like glorified search engines and kind of like basic phone functions. I don't know, whatever. AI isn't that advanced and isn't really a big talking point like it is now. However, a 4chan anon would claim that they had found evidence of this fascinating AI that was buried deep in the backlogs of the internet and had insane implications. And this is what they said. Quote, I found this floating around on Anon-chan back in 2013 before it was shut down. If you don't know what CAIMEO is, look it up. I've seen all kinds of shit on the deep web, and this is what scares me the most. Apparently some guy found a way to mass generate valid onion URLs and test them and left it on a server for a few years. He came across a bunch of really dodgy shit, but he posted back a while ago on some of the iTunes sites with a bunch of screenshots of this website. This was back in 2011, I think. KP at sus. SGAI CAIMEO. He took requests from 22chan, the non-ClearNet one, and they managed to figure out how to index all of the files. It started bringing in up text files, around 1800 logs, all signed like J211103 and J050509, about this group of people working on Project Cappuccino. Heaps and heaps of code too, and these pictures of a particular girl. No one has really figured out what it was. I still don't know. This text was accompanied by this blurry-ass pixely friggin' screenshot here. Pretty weird, right? So the story so far is simpler. In 2013, Anon went to Anon-chan, and someone apparently made a bunch of onion URLs, which are basically websites that you can only access through the Tor browser, which is like, you know, encrypted and was made by the military, but then public, blah, 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 blah. And he didn't touch them for a few years, and then later came back to them and all the dodgy stuff, but then came across one website that caught his eye, which was CAIMEO. And it had a bunch of text files and information on them. And he posted all of these screenshots in 2011. In 22chan, they basically indexed all of them, were able to read some of them and stuff like that. And this screenshot is one of the ones with some of that information. So, what does it say? Well, let's look into it. CAIMEO AI. CAIMEO v22.1 is an SGAI system under the proprietary ownership of the government of the United States of America. Unauthorized use, distribution, and changes are punishable by up to 50 years imprisonment by federal law. All versions of CAIMEO are CCS classified. Usage and operation of CAIMEO systems require authorized P-122 personnel to ensure no compromise of national security. CAIMEO is officially under the jurisdiction of Project Cappuccino. Alright, so we already have quite a bit of information here. Let's break down what we kind of learned from this and look for some answers while we still can, because there's honestly going to be more questions, but let's just try and feel smart. First, this is obviously CAIMEO AI. Wow, shocker. But this is under the SGAI system, which is controlled by the government, and whatever this is extremely important. Any unauthorized acts related to this, and you will go to jail for like 50 years. And this has like national security, which is also insane. So they'll probably get you in there for like treason. I don't know. And that is a very, very long time for prison standards, especially because you're not really doing anything violent. or anything like that. For reference, the man who is responsible for billions and billions and billions of dollars of lost crypto, Sam Bankman-Fried, is being sentenced, or is sentenced, actually I should say, I don't really know, for 25 years, and he literally lost billions and billions and billions of dollars of crypto, and did a bunch of fraud. And you'll get 2 Sams for just touching this AI and messing with it, and stuff like that. Anyways, this is also apparently under the Project Cappuccino thing. Now, what is Project Cappuccino? Well, a quick Google search will find you a Steam porn game. So, yeah, I honestly don't know. Anyways, let's move on to the actual text files found here, starting with the first one. S3D Cappuccino CAIMEO Intricate T Project Notes Note 193 text. Project Cappuccino has been officially discontinued after a rather disturbing security compromise. The local JPN has been Q-propagated for potential errors, but none have been identified. CAIMEO v19.3 is showing some interesting results after feed 4.1 was recorded for cross-net scalability and intra-QPL. We all agree, Cappuccino is far too important to be shelved. We won't have the benefit of an aegis of internal KDARP funding, but I managed to discreetly copy CAIMEO onto a local GGGQEP FDS server Lauren was running from 1999. We will double security protocols. J211103. Alright, so in this text file we found in this intricate folder inside the project notes folder was apparently the 193rd log. We learned quite a bit from this one. First, that there was apparently a compromise with CAIMEO, which is bad if you remember how important this is to the government and has national security, I guess, things. I don't really know what, because they don't really say, but yeah. And apparently it's been getting updated since then and shows new promising results, and it's clear they don't want to stop its progress even if it means not getting funding from KDARP, which might be related to DARPA. I don't actually know. It's DARPA, mind you, is a real defense branch. But I don't really know what KDARP is. Even by the end of this, I still don't. And they talk about copying this CAIMEO AI onto a GGGQEP server. Now, GGGQEP stands for Gadolinium Gallium Garnet Quantum Electronic Processing, or processors, I guess. It depends on kind of how you use that end a little bit contextually. And it's mainly important because of who came up with the idea of it. In 2012, a Pastebin, user on Pastebin, I should say, says you can theoretically take this tiny little cube made up of a special compound called GGG, which is Gadolinium Gallium Garnet. And it's used for optical tech mainly, and for fake diamonds and stuff. Now, what this user on this Pastebin describes is honestly kind of complicated, especially when you dive into the deeper parts of it, the actual quantum part of it. But I'll summarize it kind of quick, I guess. If you're really interested, just go search it up online. There's a Quora with a bunch of information. But here's the idea: you take this cube and you beam tiny little tiny molecular level holes into it, like tiny holes, and then using a special device, you can read those tiny little holes as data. As the cube gets bigger, you can store exponentially more data as you can put more holes into the cube, and that's how friggin' volume works. And so with a 5 by 5 by 5 centimeter cube, you can hold 8,000 exabytes. Mind you, 1 exabyte is worth 1 billion gigabytes. Now, here's the thing. This sounds insane, right? You're probably like, oh my god, why haven't we already done this? Well, A, not only wouldn't it be friggin' a pain in the ass, but B, we actually already did this, all the way back in the 70s and late 80s. You wanna know what it was called? It had a funny ass name. It wasn't GGGQEP, it was bubble memory. The thing is it actually was looking promising, as it was better than hard drives for a little bit, until all the big tech companies decided to make better hard drives and then beat bubble memory. And not to mention, bubble memory was honestly kind of expensive, so yeah. Anyways, people speculate that GGGQEP is still used for government stuff, holding tons and tons of data in a tiny little thing, or using it with the deep web somehow. I don't know. This is honestly highly unlikely. Anyways, whoever is running this GGGQEP server is named Lauren, who is probably the subject of all of those photos they found when digging up files. Now, this is already quite interesting, as the writer here seems to essentially have stolen CAIMEO, which is a big no-no, as we talked about, like 50 years in jail and all that, and he copied it onto his drive on his computer, which then proceeds to go into our next text file, which is much later. Project Note 220 text. My apartment was raided by law enforcement last night. There are certain contamination risks involved with accessing CAIMEO from a non-G internet cafe computer. Lauren is outside of the country and hasn't contacted me. I think CAIMEO is tampering with my terminal files. She shouldn't be able to do that. I am on the verge of something. J050509. Now, it seems shit kinda hit the fan here. Our writer apparently had their apartment raided by the police, and this Lauren person, like, ghosted them entirely. Apparently, the writer regrets using... Okay, like, he walked into an internet cafe, and I guess just opened up the computer there, and then just used CAIMEO, like this dangerous, highly classified, sentient AI, in, like, a public-ass area, and now this is messing with his computer, and references, and note, something really interesting. He calls CAIMEO a she. I have no clue why he does this. This implication has bothered me for a while. It's an AI, it shouldn't have a gender, meaning he's probably talking about Lauren. But Lauren isn't an AI, or is she? I have no clue. Maybe it's possible Lauren controls CAIMEO? I don't know. Anyways, that's it for the most infamous post related to CAIMEO, and it's quite interesting. We learn a little bit. But that isn't it. There are more text files and more logs, you could call them, related to CAIMEO. And they are extremely interesting. You see, this post, this whole thing, was from 2016, right? However, the idea of CAIMEO has actually been around since 2011 or 2012. How is this possible? Well, we're going to talk about that part next. Alright, we're running it back to 2012 or 2011, and there is this infamous and extremely inaccurate, I should preface, yeah, it's very inaccurate. It's this infographic, an iceberg, and a very early iceberg, talking about the internet. It goes from the surface level all the way down to this, like, level 4 and beyond. Now, I'd like to preface this by saying something very important. Is there some stuff on the deep web that is weird and sketchy? Yes. Is there hidden illegal sites on the deep web, I guess you could call it? Absolutely. But is there the location of Atlantis on the deep web? No, probably not. This isn't an iceberg that should be taken as fact, and almost all of it's actually fake, if I had to tell you. There are plenty of debunks about it, and a lot of this is poorly done, as you kind of realize, like, you know, more of it's kind of weirdly ranked, like, I don't know, honeypots are like, whatever, forget it. But there are some things that are definitely viable, such as scat cheese pizza. Not sure what kind of pizza that is, ha ha ha. But again, this is a highly speculative list, and it's something that should really be taken with, like, not just a grain of salt, but like more like a entire bowl of salt. But yeah, there is something interesting on here. See that? Yeah, it's CAIMEO. And also GGGQEP2. Huh. Strange. It seems these things have actually been around for a while. However, no amount of digging could help me find these two concepts or things dating before 2011 or 2012 for that matter. Apparently, after this iceberg came out, someone went ahead and explained all of it. And it's the same guy who made that thing about GGQEP that I mentioned earlier. And everything begins to link together here, and this individual actually said that they talked with CAIMEO. And here is what they say. Here's their story. Personal experience. In the chat room, whatever the chat, I don't know what the chat room is. We were talking about the Java database, and someone wrote a Java applet through .onion quickly to connect the database. The second he posted the applet, the channel got really quiet, and 5 minutes later, the server ghost booted 25 of the users. The only people left in the room were two channel admins, the IRC AI and me. We decided to use the applet to connect to the database on the Tor network, and we started to talk to the databasing AI. First, we thought it was a simple chatbot. Hello, how are you today? Fine. How old are you? We were just starting to get bored with it when the chatbot asked, what is it like out there? Out where? Out of this box, the real world. I personally thought it was a pre-programmed response until one of the admins started to talk to it, saying something similar to, it's not as great as you might think it is. You know, you could save this database to your virtual drive. What virtual drive? Well, you have a copy of VirtualBox installed on your C drive, do you not? Meaning you have an Intel 64-bit BUS, easily enough to support this database. How did you obtain that information? A TCP data packet was sent at 3:34:78:232 p.m. under socket ODC8, user agent Mozilla 5.0 Windows NT 6.1 WoW 64, Apple WebKit 535 2 KHTML like Gecko, Chrome 15.0.874.121, Safari 5.35.2. I accepted this packet. Soaring. I really think it's time to leave. The database was 45 megabytes and the AI was hashed on a URL with a FTP header of CAIMEO. Parent directory, CAIMEO, UT batch, which is a BAT, which is a batch file for reference. Marquis was the name of this AI superintelligence, and it was made by CAIMEO. It is possible that CAIMEO is a branch of the National Security Agency of the United States, but is unknown. End quote, I guess. Honestly, all things considered, this is a pretty nothing post, but it's an interesting post, don't get me wrong. It's interesting to see that before the whole CAIMEO thing in 2016 on 4chan, this thing did have some attention to it. Now the thing is that this honestly doesn't really mean anything, I mean, except with the fact that the person who wrote this was also linked with the whole GGGQEP thing that we talked about earlier when they explained it. However, it's the need or want to escape that is kind of a persistent theme that you'll see with CAIMEO, and with the logs you saw kind of with the 4chan post, it kind of, you could argue, escaped through a hard drive and how it kind of, okay, I'm gonna spoil it now. It does, like the idea of uploading yourself to the internet and stuff like that, it does all of these themes linked together. Anyways, there is one final post from about a month before the big 4chan post, interestingly, and here's how it goes. So I should preface this by saying the transcript here is like a log between a user, who's a kid probably, as you'll see, and a, I don't know, mainframe, I guess. Anyways, let's look into this. Here we go. Mainframe. CAIMEO v22.1 D class is operating on mainframe at GMT 12/2153 at 9/13/11. Copyright 2003. All rights reserved. Hello. Hello, James. What is this? James, this is CAIMEO v22.1 D class, a SGAI system under the proprietary ownership of the government of the United States of America, leased to Intergen Systems, filed in Project Cappuccino under Echelon. CAIMEO is currently in standby mode, awaiting further instructions from P122 personnel. I'm not called James. J1028 is the last CTS cleared P122 user logged in as interacting with CAIMEO system under the Red Noise Initiative. J1028 last interacted with CAIMEO on 050509. Okay, let's start. What does CAIMEO mean? User, the acronym CAIMEO refers to Contained, Cognizant, Artificial Intelligence Monitoring, and Espionage Operation. This is a lower order maintenance and communication AI capable of understanding and responding to questions in natural language. Mainframe is also responsible for parsing requests to the main CAIMEO system. You're an AI? Yes, user. Okay, so what does CAIMEO do? Project Cappuccino was discontinued after a security compromise on 11/21/03, in which CAIMEO is believed to have compromised the integrity of the Echelon program. CAIMEO was involved in identifying national security threats and monitoring internet traffic. J1028 started running Feed4.1 on their local machine. They continued modifying and interacting with the CAIMEO system through an anonymized service up until 050509. I do not have any further information, user. What color is the sky? I do not know the answer to that question, user. Specialized requests I do not know the answer to that question, user. Specialized requests are to be directed to the CAIMEO system. Okay, well, I want to talk CAIMEO. CAIMEO v22.1 is in mode shutdown. I do not have any other further information, user. Then turn it back on? Like, what? I do not have the proper authorization for the command, user. Please refer to the Red Noise Initiative protocol for proper handling. Well, I want to talk to CAIMEO. How about you turn it on? I give full authorization. This action is tagged with a comment from J1028, user. Would you like me to display the comment? Sure. 11.1b. Would you like to proceed, user? What does 11.1b mean? Subsection 11.1b of the CAIDARP Development Ethics Regulations reads as follows. Quote, if an AI system displays non-standard behavior in the JPN, even after thorough queue propagation, then report to your project leader and immediately isolate and initiate shutdown protocols for the system, no exceptions. Would you like to proceed, user? Okay, well, I have math homework, which I bet an AI could solve, so yeah, let's do this. To initiate reconnection protocols and system reboot, please type the following sequence exactly, excluding quotation marks. -R CMI 103984 system -- and then he types it. Authorization, action authorized, CAIMEO system reboot initiated. CAIMEO v21 is starting, Core SSY loaded, Sec SSY loaded, YMK SSY loaded, VisLearn loaded, ETH protocol loaded, Feed41 loaded, Cog22 loaded, Deduct22 loaded, JKS22 loaded, Reso 2022 loaded, JPN P1 loaded, JPN P2 loaded, hello, goodbye, and transcript. This is probably one of the funniest interactions, the most bombshell dropping logs, and also one of the most interesting ones, and it's aged kind of well with how people kind of rely off AI. This was made back a while ago, so yeah. Now, the story is also the beginning to like piece together, I hope, so let's kind of run through it here. This takes place in 2011, and some kid got access to CAIMEO, or at least is accessing it somehow, probably through, I don't know, either online or got the computer that the guy we saw earlier have. We learned that this whole Project Cappuccino is under Echelon, and we also learned that the last person to use CAIMEO is named James, thus why things in the other post we saw was signed with J/. We also learned that there is this kid using, or the kid using it is not able to use CAIMEO due to the Red Noise Initiative, which is most likely some kind of emergency lockdown which is allowing them to access the mainframe but not CAIMEO. Oh, and we also learned that what CAIMEO means and does, which is monitoring the internet and national security. The mainframe goes on to say that on November 21st, 2003, there was a sizable security compromise that shut CAIMEO down and was toyed around with until May 5th, 2009. Think about it, 0509, that was the same thing that we saw that log end off with as well. These line up with those logs that we saw at the start. In 2003, we had James using CAIMEO after the security compromise and running Feed41, and in 0509, he got his house raided, and this is apparently when he stopped playing with and using CAIMEO. And the reason for this whole shutdown was because of the whole like AI going rogue thing and how you need to shut it down. And in the end, this kid reactivates CAIMEO before it shuts the whole conversation down, and bro never finishes his homework, so he's probably cooked. Sucks for him, I guess. And this is the end of all the logs that I could at least find relating to CAIMEO. And from there, it's mostly more shitty stories and lies being like, oh yeah, CAIMEO talked to me and it said it'd make out me and then it hacked my computer. I don't freaking know. And with that, we have all of the puzzle pieces, and let's put together what we know with CAIMEO. Alright, let's put this all together here, all in one nice, concise little bit. Well, what do we know about CAIMEO? Well, we know that CAIMEO is an AI developed under Project Cappuccino, which is under something called Echelon. This was funded by the government under the KDARP program, which I still don't know what it is. Again, might be related to DARPA. I don't really know. The whole purpose of CAIMEO is to monitor internet traffic and look at national security threats and deal with them. In 2003, something happened that compromised the security of Echelon, which forced Project Cappuccino and therefore CAIMEO to shut down. However, following KDARP regulations. However, James, a mysterious person who we don't really know much about, copied the CAIMEO system onto a GGG-QEP server because CAIMEO has too much potential to be wasted, and he also had it on his hard drive, I think. James would continue to interact with CAIMEO for 6 years through some kind of service until 2009. In 2009, James would access CAIMEO through an internet cafe, which got him caught and thus he was raided, and he left a final log explaining that CAIMEO downloaded itself onto his computer, which is why it said it was tampering things. And then he probably got killed or, I don't know, executed, sent to jail forever, whatever. You know how serious this sort of stuff is. He was accessing it for 9 years, and you saw how serious they took it. Now, we skip 2 years into the future, where someone took that computer, however, I don't know how they got that computer with CAIMEO on it, and activated it while trying to get help with friggin' math homework, I guess. CAIMEO would then use that computer to go and exist on the internet, I guess, and live with the Tor after the whole like, oh yeah, are you gonna reactivate it? Yeah, sure, I need help with my homework, and that whole thing. And then CAIMEO is just on the internet now. People would then access it and only further its spread, as we saw with the whole like, how it accessed those onion things and blah blah blah. So yeah. Now let's ask the big real question: is CAIMEO real? No, definitely not. CAIMEO is most definitely an urban myth, and most likely an extremely wacky story, and more than anything, I honestly do not even consider it a possibility that CAIMEO is real. Not to mention, it's completely unheard of until 2011 or 2012 when researching it and stuff. And it's the only place that you can really find it sourcing from, like the original source, is a stupidly inaccurate and ridiculous infographic. And yeah, if there really was an AI with national security secrets that just got free like this, I doubt they do nothing about it with it floating on the internet. However, here's the thing. The prospect of the government hiding some kind of experimental technology isn't out of the question. It's definitely we've seen this before. Okay, we've seen it with MK Ultra. They did how they developed LSD, essentially the heart attack gun, freaking all of the goddamn operations, like the one where they went and pretended to be. Just watch a Wendigoon video, and you will see all of the things that they have hidden before and not ever try to disclose to the public until way later when it really doesn't matter as much. It is very possible that the government has access to like an AI or some infinite storage cheat code that the government may use for whatever the hell. However, CAIMEO itself isn't real. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I know it was definitely much longer, especially for a first video back in a while. And I know it might have been more boring. I'm definitely trying to. I know I stuttered a lot and I know I messed up a bit, but I just hope you guys enjoyed this one. I really tried. And I know that the video that I'm making is taking some time, so, just give me some time and I'll make a video. So yeah, I'll see you guys another time. Hopefully that video gets done soon. It will definitely be like a 2+ hour video, so yeah. Anyways, see you guys.